morning, dear students. I am Miss NAVEDA.SHAIKH from Brahan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika MCGM virtual class. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session. In today's session, we'll be learning something new and interesting from a science textbook. So let's get started. Good morning, dear students. I am Mrs. NAVEDA.SHAIKH. I welcome all my dear students to another and interesting session. In today's class, we'll be learning and continuing with a very interesting topic that we've started. That is life processes in living organism part 3. We have already uploaded 2 videos of this chapter, so please do go and watch those videos in order to understand about few life processes in living organisms, how they happen, along with a few life processes that happen in plants also, how it takes place. We have already discussed about transportation of food and water in plants. We have also discussed about excretion and coordination in plants and animals. So please do go and watch those videos in order to have a better understanding. In this video, we'll be continuing with the next part, which is also very interesting because we'll be talking about our nervous system, our brain, our spinal cord, and all the hormones that are there in your body. So it is a very interesting chapter. So let's get started. So your nervous system is divided into 3 parts. Okay, so remember this. We have various types of organ systems in our body. We have learned that, and in that we have also known that nervous system is also a very important part in your body, right? So nervous system is divided into 3 parts. First is central nervous system, which comprises of the brain and the spinal cord. Next you have is the peripheral nervous system, which comprises of all the nerves that are there in your body. Then you have autonomic nervous system. Now all these 3 systems are coming together to form the entire human nervous system. ठीक है, तो हम लोग ये हर एक के बारे में in detail पढ़ने वाले हैं in this part. Okay, so it is a very interesting part. So let's get into our nervous system and see what exactly and what are the different functions of these nervous system. First, we will start with the central nervous system or CNS. ठीक है? If in your textbook it is written CNS, no need to worry. It is the short form or the abbreviation of central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. I told you previously also कि हमारा जो central nervous system है वो basically 2 parts के अंदर connected है, वो है brain and the spinal cord. We all know हमारा जो brain है हमारे spinal cord से connected है. Yes or no? Here you can see in this picture also clearly. The organization of the brain is extremely delicate. हमारा जो brain है, it is extremely delicate and it is highly evolved. The brain is the main controlling part of the nervous system and it is safely located in the cranial cavity. मतलब जो हमारा skull है ना, skull के अंदर ये हमारा brain safely रखा गया है. The spinal cord is also protected by the vertebral column. जो हमारी रीढ़ की हड्डी हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, उसके बीच में ये spinal cord पास होता है. ठीक है, so these bones, that is the vertebral column, protects our spinal cord. In the space between the delicate central nervous system and its bony covering are the protective layers called the meninges. ठीक है, तो ये जो space के the space between the delicate nervous system and its bony covering, इसके बीच में भी एक protective layer है, क्योंकि जो nerves है ना हमारी जो brain तक पहुंच रही है, ऐसे damage नहीं होना चाहिए bones को touch होकर, तो उसके पास भी एक protective layer है जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं meninges. Okay, cavities present in various parts of the brain are called ventricles. Here in this picture of the brain you can see ये जो lateral ventricle है, third ventricle, here you can see fourth ventricle. I'll just mark and I'll show it to you so it becomes quite clear to all of you. Okay, so here you can see the ventricles, this blue portion that we're talking about. Okay, this is what we're talking about here. These are the ventricles, this blue portion that you see. Okay, इसके अंदर जो cavity दिखाई दे रही है ना, ये portion जो cavity दिख रही है हम लोगों को, ये हमारा ventricle है. ठीक है, the cavities present in various parts of the brain are called ventricles, whereas the long tubular cavity of the spinal cord is called the central cavity. ठीक है, जो central cavity जो दिखाई दे रही है हम लोगों को, इसे हम लोग सेंट्रल कैविटी कहते हैं। स्पाइनल कॉर्ड के बीच में जो दिखा रहा है कैविटी, कैविटी मतलब होल, ठीक है, एक खड्डा खाली जगह, उसे हम लोग कैविटी कहते हैं। The ventricles, central canal and spaces between the meninges are filled with cerebrospinal fluid. Here in this picture, here we are talking about this picture, cerebrospinal fluid. ये जो cavities है ना, ये जो blue portion दिख रहा है ना, ये cerebro fluid है, ठीक है। ये fluid क्या करता है, चीजों को अपनी जगह से हिलने नहीं देता and it avoids damage also, ठीक है। जैसे अगर कोई पानी की चीज को अगर हम लोग दबाएंगे तो क्या होता है, वो वापस अपनी जगह पर आ जाता है, ठीक है, बट वो अंदर की चीज को डैमेज नहीं करता। सेम विद दिस फ्लूइड विच इज देयर, विच इज filled outside the cavities in order to protect the internal parts, ठीक है। This fluid supplies nutrients to the central nervous system and protects it from the shock. तो ये nutrients भी provide करता है और it protects it from the shock as well. In this picture, it is quite clearly shown कि हमारा central nervous system, you have to look at the picture and think what we have already learned in this paragraph. We have learned कि central nervous system दो चीज से बना है, brain से और spinal cord से। हमारे brain के अंदर cavity है जिसे हम लोग ventricles कहते हैं। spinal cord के अंदर भी cavity है जिसके through ये हमारा spinal cord, vertebral column के अंदर cavity है जिसके through spinal cord pass on होता है, और ये spinal cord और vertebral column के बीच में जो जगह है उसे meninges कहते हैं। Next, we have also learned about cerebrospinal fluid, which is helping and filling up all the nearby cavities, the ventricle, the central canal. These are all filled with cerebrospinal fluid ताकि उन्हें nutrients provide किया जा सके and it is protected from the shock also. The brain of an adult human being weighs about 1300 to 1400 grams and consists of approximately 100 billion neurons. The left side of our brain controls the right side of our body and the right side of our brain controls left side of the body. In addition, the left side of the brain controls our speech and conversation, writing, logical thinking, etc. Whereas the right side controls artistic abilities. Okay, so here in this picture, the brain is shown to you. Okay, this is a 3D picture of a brain. You can see how the brain is divided into two parts. ठीक है, सेंटर में से आप लोगों को दिखाई दे रहा है दो कलर्स है अलग अलग, एक ब्लू है और एक ऑरेंज कलर है. So this blue portion is the right part of your brain and the orange one is the left brain functions. ठीक है, तो right brain functions जो है वो basically हमारे आर्ट के बारे में, क्रिएटिविटी, हमारी इमेजिनेशन, हमारे इंट्यूशंस के आगे क्या हो सकता है, म्यूजिक अवेयरनेस. ओके, सो दीज आर ऑल रिलेटेड टू योर राइट हैंड साइड ब्रेन. ये सारी चीज हमारे राइट हैंड साइड पे है, ठीक है. और हमारे लेफ्ट साइड पे कौन से फंक्शंस हैं, हमारी लैंग्वेज, कैसे बात करना है, कौन सी लैंग्वेज हमारे, जो हम लोग स्पीच बात करते हैं, हमारी स्पीच है, हमारी कॉन्वर्जेशन है, हमारा राइटिंग स्किल है, या फिर नंबर्स है, मैथ्स है, साइंस है, ऑल थिंग्स रिलेटेड टू दैट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय योर लेफ्ट हैंड साइड, लेफ्ट हैंड पार्ट ऑफ द ब्रेन. ठीक है, हमारा जो पूरा बॉडी का जो राइट साइड है, पूरा अगर बॉडी को हम लोग दो पार्ट में डिवाइड कर देंगे ना, तो जो राइट साइड हमारी बॉडी का है, इट इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय द लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द ब्रेन, एंड योर लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द बॉडी इज कंट्रोल्ड बाय योर राइट साइड ऑफ द ब्रेन. ठीक है, तो ये कनेक्शन क्रिस क्रॉस है, तो रिमेंबर दैट. सिंपल है. लेफ्ट साइड कौन कंट्रोल, ब्रेन का कौन सा पार्ट कंट्रोल कर रहा है, राइट साइड कंट्रोल कर रहा है, और राइट साइड कौन सा कंट्रोल कर रहा है, लेफ्ट साइड कंट्रोल कर रहा है ब्रेन. ठीक है, so you have to remember that. And also remember how many neurons are present. There are approximately 100 billion neurons in your brain. ठीक है, ताकि वो हमारे बॉडी का हर एक मैसेज मिस आउट ना करे और हर एक मैसेज प्रॉपर्ली ट्रांसफर हो फ्रॉम वन पार्ट ऑफ द बॉडी टू द अदर. और क्विक होता है ना, अगर हमारे पैर में कुछ चुभता है तो हम लोग फौरन हटा लेते हैं. You can imagine how quickly the response is going and how quickly the response has reached your brain and how quickly your body is doing that action of removing your leg. ठीक है, तो this is the reason, because there are so many neurons present in your brain. Okay, now let us get inside our brain. Now we have entered inside the cranial cavity. मतलब हमारा skull open करके अब हम लोग brain के अंदर के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं. So very first thing that we are talking about is cerebrum. This is the largest part of the brain and consists of two cerebral hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. हम लोगों ने पढ़ा है ना हमारा brain दो parts में divided है. Longitudinally अगर उसे बीच में से कट किया जाएगा तो दो part है, एक left side और एक right side. These hemispheres are joined with each other with the help of tough fibers and nerve tracts. इसके through join किए गए हैं nerve fiber और nerve tracts. Okay, I'll just show you what I'm talking about. I'll be taking yellow color to show you all that. This portion that we are talking about, okay, this is the portion which has been joined. There are two hemispheres, the left hemisphere and you have the right hemisphere. दो हेमिस्फीयर में डिवाइड हुए हैं हमारे सेरेब्रल, everybody can see, और ये दोनों जॉइंट हुए हैं with tough fibers and nerve tracts. The cerebrum occupies 2/3 of the brain, hence it is called the large brain. Its surface has deep irregular ridges and grooves which are called convolutions. Convolutions increases the surface area of the cerebrum and therefore a large number of nerve cells can be accommodated. अब हम लोग ये grooves किसे कहते हैं? ये जो lines दिख रही है ना टेढ़ी मेढ़ी ऐसा लग रहा है, ये हमारे grooves है. ठीक है, this we are talking about. ये grooves की वजह से क्या होता है पता है? अगर हम इसे open करेंगे ना तो ये बहुत ज़्यादा surface area देता है. ठीक है, so these are all grooves. जैसे से लगता है इसे spirally एक जगह पर compact करके रखा गया है. ठीक है, अगर हम लोग इसे स्ट्रेच कर देंगे ना, पूरा ओपन कर देंगे ना, तो इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा एरिया मिलता है. ठीक है, तो इस वजह से उसके अंदर उसे हमारा ब्रेन एक कॉम्पैक्ट चीज़ है ना, तो इसे इसीलिए ऐसे रिजेस और ऐसे ग्रूव्स देकर उसे सेट किया गया हमारे ब्रेन के अंदर, ताकि हमें कम जगह में भी बहुत सारे नर्व सेल्स अकोमोडेट हो सके. ठीक है, सो आई होप cerebrum is understood to all of you. Now what are you supposed to remember in cerebrum? You're supposed to remember the cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres, the left hemisphere, the right hemisphere. You have these two hemispheres joined with each other with the help of tough fibers and nerve tracts. Then the cerebrum occupies 2/3 of the brain, that is why it is called as the large brain. It has deep grooves and irregular ridges so that you have more surface area to have large number of nerve cells in there. Okay, and these ridges and grooves are called as convolutions. Next you have the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. First we'll talk about the cerebellum. Cerebellum comes on the lower portion. ठीक है, हमारा जो ब्रेन सेरेब्रम है ऊपर, उसके नीचे आप लोग को एक छोटा सा पोर्शन दिख रहा है. Now this is what is cerebrum that we're talking about. Okay, here this portion that you see is the cerebrum. Okay, this red portion that I've marked, that is the cerebellum. Okay, the cerebellum is the smaller part of the brain situated below the cerebrum at the back of the cranial cavity. ठीक है, हमारे पीछे की तरफ है, सर के बिल्कुल पीछे, जहाँ पर हमारा नेक पड़ता है ना उसके थोड़ा ऊपर. Its surface shows shallow grooves instead of deep convolutions. So you can see here shallow grooves है, ज़्यादा deep नहीं है, हल्के हल्के से है. This is all about cerebellum that you're supposed to know in this chapter. Then you have medulla oblongata. Here you can see in this picture about where you can see the skull. This portion that you see, this red color mark that you see, is the medulla oblongata. Okay, this is medulla oblongata that we're talking about. It is the hindmost part of the brain. मतलब सबसे नीचे का part होता है brain के. There are two triangular swollen structure called pyramids on the upper side of the medulla oblongata. ऊपर दिख रहा है triangular portion है और नीचे लंबा सा portion है. The medulla oblongata continues downwards as the spinal cord. ये medulla oblongata नीचे हमारे spinal cord continue करता है in the vertebral column. Okay, so these are the three parts of the brain that you need to know. First is cerebrum. Next you have below that you have the cerebellum, and below cerebellum you have medulla oblongata. ठीक है, very simple. I hope I have made the things very clear. The pictures are also very clear to understand about all the three things that are there in your brain. Next we move on to स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. ठीक है, मेडुला ऑब्लोंगेटा के नीचे क्या आता है? स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. एंड रिमेंबर स्पाइनल कॉर्ड सिर्फ हमारा जो रीढ़ की हड्डी है ना, उसे स्पाइनल कॉर्ड नहीं कहते. ठीक है, दैट इज अ वर्टिब्रल कॉलम. वो हड्डी है, उसके अंदर एक हॉलो स्ट्रक्चर है, उसके अंदर हमारा स्पाइनल कॉर्ड प्रेजेंट है. ठीक है, द स्पाइनल कॉर्ड इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एंड एनी इंजरी टू स्पाइनल कॉर्ड कैन लीड टू डेथ ऑल्सो एंड पैरालिसिस ऑल्सो. People will not, there are certain people who are not able to stand up on their own, walk and do things because their spinal cord must have got injured due to an accident. So spinal cord is very important part of your body. ठीक है, so you have to be very careful when you're sitting, when you're moving around, when you're playing. ठीक है, so let us understand more about the spinal cord. The spinal cord is a part of the central nervous system and it is held within the vertebral column. It is slightly thick but gradually tapers towards the end. If you see towards the हमारा जो backbone है, hip bone की तरफ अगर हम लोग देखेंगे, if you notice here, you will notice that it is tapering towards the end. There is a thread-like fibrous structure at its end. Now, here in this picture, you will notice, everybody can see here, ये taper होता है towards the end. In the blue, here I can show you. ये जो हमारा स्पाइनल कॉर्ड है ना, ये ऊपर की तरफ थोड़ा चौड़ा होता है और नीचे की तरफ थोड़ा पतला होते जाता है, टेपर होते जाता है. There is a thread-like fibrous structure at its end. It is called as the phylum terminal. Now, the spinal cord here, it is responsible for sending the message from the nerves to the brain. Okay. We move on to the next type of nervous system. First we learnt about was the central nervous system, which comprised of the brain and the spinal cord. Now we have the peripheral nervous system, which comprises of the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. Okay, the peripheral nervous system consists of the nerves originating from the central nervous system. These nerves connect the central nervous system with all parts of the body. They are of two types. Now remember, हमारा जो बॉडी है ना, उसके अंदर हर जगह पे नर्व्स प्रेजेंट है, इसीलिए आप लोगों को आँख बंद भी रहेगी और आप कहीं पर भी चींटी काटती है ना, if you have a ant or a mosquito which bites you, you come to know at once. Why? Because you have nerves all around your body. ठीक है, तो ये nerves है ना, कहाँ कनेक्ट होती है? ये nerves हमारे हर एक मसल्स के थ्रू पास ऑन होकर हमारे स्पाइनल कॉर्ड, दैट इज द सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम, से होकर ब्रेन तक पहुँचती है. ठीक है, दैट इज द पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम. Now there are two types of nerves in the peripheral nervous system. First is cranial nerves. These nerves originating from the brain are called cranial nerves. हमारे brain से जो originate होती है वो cranial nerves है. They are associated with various parts in the head, the thorax and the abdomen. हमारे head के अंदर जो भी nerves है, हमारे thorax के अंदर मतलब हमारे chest के जो portion है उससे, और हमारे abdomen के अंदर जो भी वो हमारे cranial nerves हैं. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. Then you have spinal nerves. The nerves originating from the spinal cord are called spinal nerves. These are associated with arms, legs, skin and some other parts of the body. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Okay, so here you can see if anything which is pricked into your leg means which nerve is responsible over there to send message. The spinal nerve. स्पाइनल नर्व हमारे स्पाइनल कॉर्ड तक मैसेज पहुंचाता है, स्पाइनल कॉर्ड हमारे ब्रेन में मैसेज पहुंचाता है. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट वी लर्न अबाउट क्रेनियल नर्व्स. जो क्रेनियल नर्व्स है वो हमारे हर जो चेहरा है, हमारा फेस है, हमारा जो थ्रोट है, हमारा जो चेस्ट कैविटी है, इन सब तक ये नर्व्स पहुंचती है. ठीक है, सो दैट इज व्हाई दे आर कॉल्ड एज क्रेनियल नर्व्स. द नेक्स्ट nervous system that we have in our body is the autonomic nervous system. Autonomous nervous system consists of the nerves of involuntary organs like the heart, lungs, stomach, etc. It is not under the control of our will. ठीक है, ये हमारे अंदर हमारे कंट्रोल में नहीं होता है, ये हमारे internal organs के अंदर present होता है. ठीक है, so the reflex action, the next thing that we have is the reflex action. An immediate and involuntary response given to a stimulus from the environment is called a reflex action. मतलब डायरेक्टली हम लोग के बिना सोचे समझे, जैसे कि अगर डॉक्टर ने हमारे पैर पे अगर कुछ मारा है तो हम लोग का पैर फौरन उठ जाता है, तो ये एक रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन। ठीक है, अगर हम लोग ने कोई चीज प्रिक हो गई हम लोगों को तो हम लोग हमारे उंगली हटा लेते हैं, तो दैट इज ऑल्सो एन रिफ्लेक्स एक्शन। सो व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज हैपनिंग ओवर हियर? Sometimes we react to an incident without any thinking on our part or control over the reaction. This is a response given to a certain stimulus from the surrounding. In such situations, proper control and coordination is achieved even without intervention of the brain. ठीक है, जो पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम है हमारे अंदर, जो ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम है, the autonomic nervous system is related to our organs like the heart, lungs, stomach. Okay, हमारे बॉडी के अंदर और भी नर्व्स हैं जो हम लोगों के लिए ये जो एक्शन है फॉरन इमीडिएटली करते हैं विदाउट इवन आवर ब्रेन कमिंग इनटू एक्शन। ठीक है, तो ये हमारे नर्व्स एक दूसरे से ऐसे कनेक्टेड होते हैं कि हम लोगों को फॉरन ये रिस्पॉन्स दे देते हैं हमारी कोई भी एक्शन। These are called as, this is called as a reflex action. The next topic that we have in this chapter is chemical control. Control and coordination in our body is also brought about with the help of certain chemical substances called hormones. Hormones are secreted by endocrine glands. These glands are also called ductless glands. These glands do not have any arrangement of their own to either store or carry their secretion. ठीक है, हमारी बॉडी के अंदर छोटे छोटे ग्लैंड्स है अलग अलग जगहों पर, दैट विल बी स्टडिंग हाउ एंड वेयर. These glands are responsible for our growth and they have hormones in them. Hormones are nothing but chemicals which are there, and these chemicals are released in a certain specific amount. Okay, so these endocrine glands are present at specific location in your body. The secretion reaches all parts of the body via blood. Endocrine glands along with the nervous system are responsible for the control and coordination in our body. These two systems help each other to control and integrate the various activities of the body. A marked difference between these two systems is that nerve impulses are fast but short-lived, whereas the action of hormones is very slow but long-lasting. Okay, a very simple example is when your boys when they tend to develop beard and mustache. Okay, these glands secrete certain hormones. Okay, and these hormones are released very slowly and not at once. ठीक है, तो ये जब रिलीज की जाती है ना उसके हिसाब से स्लो एंड स्टेडी these hormones are released, बट इसका इफेक्ट लॉन्ग लास्टिंग होता है, हम लोगों को आगे तक बहुत सालों तक ये हमारे बियर्ड और मुस्टैच रहने वाली है। ठीक है, whereas when we talk about our brain and or coordination related to our nerves, it is very fast but it is short lived, जल्दी से खत्म हो जाता है। You have to remember that it is very important that hormones are secreted only in the required quantity, and there is a special mechanism which controls the quantity and timing of hormone secretion. Means the development of beard and I'm just taking this example again. The development of beard and mustache in body in boys, and this happens at a particular age. ठीक है, ऐसा नहीं है कि बचपन से होती है, and this shows that the hormones are releasing at a particular time. They have a set timing for doing something. ठीक है, same way even when the girl starts their periods, that is also at a particular age. ठीक है, तो that also shows कि हमारे बॉडी को एक particular timing set है ताकि वो ही हार्मोन उस वक्त रिलीज हो सके। ठीक है, for example, whenever there is an increase in blood sugar glucose level, certain cells in the pancreas get stimulated, and as a response they release a greater quantity of insulin. कभी बार हमारे बॉडी के अंदर हम लोग कभी कुछ मीठा ज़्यादा खा लेते हैं तो हमारे बॉडी के अंदर ब्लड शुगर लेवल बढ़ जाता है। सो इन ऑर्डर टू कंट्रोल दैट व्हाट हैपेंस, हमारे बॉडी के अंदर ज़्यादा इंसुलिन प्रोड्यूस करती है हमारी पैंक्रियाज। सो दिस इज वन मोर एग्जांपल that you could use for chemical control in your body. Next you have this chart which is very important. Endocrine glands, the location and the important functions. Hypothalamus, it is located above the pituitary gland in the forebrain. ठीक है, हमारा जो ब्रेन है ना उसके नीचे की तरफ। It secretes the hormone which controls the activity of the secretory cells of the pituitary gland, and it controls the pituitary gland. The pituitary at the base of the brain these are the growth hormones. Then there is a hormone called as adrenocorticotropic hormone. Then you have thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, oxytocin, anti-diuretic hormone. ठीक है. अब growth hormone, it stimulates growth of bones. Then adrenocorticotropic hormone, it stimulates adrenal gland in your body. Then you have thyroid stimulating hormone, which stimulates thyroid gland. Prolactin and follicle stimulating hormones, it helps in prolactin helps in stimulating milk production in females, and follicle stimulating hormones growth of gonads, controls the growth of gonads, and luteinizing hormones controls menstrual cycle and ovulation. Oxytocin controls uterus during parturition, and antidiuretic hormone, it regulates water level in the body. Thyroid, it is located near anterolateral side of trachea and the neck region. हमारा जो throat है इसके नीचे की तरफ हम लोगों का thyroid located है. It releases the hormone called as thyroxine, and thyroxine controls the growth of body and metabolic activities. हमारी metabolism growth, कभी कभार हम लोग को लगता है कि हम लोग बहुत दुबले हैं, कुछ भी खाते हैं तो भी कुछ लग रहा नहीं है. Means there are chances that this thyroid has been affected in your body. Okay, so it could be tested and there are medications for that as well. Calcitonin, that it controls calcium metabolism and calcium level in blood. हमारे बॉडी के अंदर जो ब्लड लेवल के अंदर जो कैल्शियम लेवल है ये भी थायराइड कंट्रोल करता है. पैराथायराइड, 4 glands behind the thyroid gland. Thyroid gland के पीछे ही पैराथायराइड है, which releases a hormone called as parathormone, which controls metabolism of calcium and phosphorus. मतलब किस तरीके से हमारा कैल्शियम और फास्फोरस को यूज किया जाएगा वो कंट्रोल करते हैं. Then you have pancreas, which you must have learned in the digestive system, which is behind the stomach. There are 4 types of cells: alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells, PP cells or F cells. Now the pancreas release insulin, हम लोग को ये पता है, but apart from insulin you also have glucagon, you have somatostatin, you have pancreatic polypeptide. The hormones, these are the hormones, and they are responsible for stimulating liver to convert glycogen into glucose, stimulates liver to convert excess blood glucose into glycogen. It controls the level of insulin and glucagon. It controls movement of intestine and thereby glucose absorption. हमारे बॉडी के अंदर we know that digestion के अंदर हमारे जो ग्लूकोज बनता है वो absorption के अंदर pancreas help करती है. They control in secretion of pancreatic juices as well. Next we have adrenal gland. Anterior side end of each kidney you have these adrenal glands present. They release a hormones called as adrenaline and noradrenaline and corticosteroid. Now adrenaline controls behavior during crisis and emotional situation. कभी कभार कुछ एक्सीडेंट हो जाता है तो हम लोग को फौरन से दर्द का एहसास नहीं होता. Now that is because of adrenal rush in your body. या कभी कभार हम लोगों को हमारा फेवरेट कोई सेलिब्रिटी दिखता है तो हम लोग किस तरीके से बिहेव करते हैं. तो all that thing is controlled by this adrenal gland. Okay, it stimulates heart and its conducting tissue and metabolic process. कभी कभार हम लोग कुछ मस्ती करते रहते हैं, हमारा प्रिंसिपल आ जाते हैं या फिर टीचर्स आ जाते हैं, तो what happens, our heart starts to beat fast. Now that is all controlled because of the adrenal gland and the adrenaline released during that situation. It maintains the balance of sodium and potassium and stimulates metabolism. Next you have ovaries on either side of uterus in women. Okay, this is in women. It releases estrogen, which is useful and stimulates growth of endometrium. These are all things required for during the, you must have learned, you will be learning about this in your 10th standard as well in detail about the endometrium. It stimulates growth of secondary sexual characteristics in women, like development of the breast and how you have different types of hair growth in your body. Okay, it prepares the endometrium for conception and maintains the pregnancy. So the progesterone, which is very important hormone released in our ovary, which helps in preparing the endometrium. ठीक है, जब हमारे ये जो यूट्रस है उसके अंदर एक cushion like blood से बना होता है, that is the endometrium, which maintains, which prepares the uterus for pregnancy. Then you have another part, that is testes, which is present in the males in the scrotum. It releases testosterone. It helps in this. It stimulates the growth of secondary sexual characteristics like beard, mustache, hoarse voice, etc. in men. Thymus in thoracic cage near the heart. Thymosin, it releases the hormone called thymosin, which controls the cells which give rise to immunity. हमारी immunity बढ़ाने के लिए ये thymus responsible है, and it is present near the thoracic cage near the heart, and the hormone which it releases is thymosin. Okay, so I hope with this chapter is quite clear to all my students, and in the next coming period we'll be learning something new and interesting. If you have any doubts and queries regarding this chapter, you can ask us in the comment section. Till then, thank you. If you like our session, please do not forget to subscribe to our channel so that you can share and this session was quite useful to you. In the next coming period, we'll learn something new and interesting. Till then, thank you.